Have you ever stopped to think about how your actions might be affecting your relationships as you age? It's a question that many of us, especially as we move into our 60s, 70s, and beyond, don't consider often enough. Yet, it's crucial. As we grow older, some habits, though well-intentioned, can unintentionally push people away instead of drawing them closer. Maybe you've noticed a growing distance between yourself and your children, grandchildren, or even friends. Perhaps you've wondered why you feel misunderstood, or why those closest to you seem hesitant to spend as much time together as they once did. Could it be that certain behaviors developed over time are creating barriers instead of bridges? Let me share a story. Imagine Susan, a 72-year-old retired teacher from Portland. She's loved deeply by her family, but lately, she's been feeling lonely and unsure why the close-knit relationships she once had seemed to be slipping away. Susan's story might sound familiar to you or remind you of someone in your life. The truth is, many older adults unknowingly adopt habits that lead to feelings of isolation, even though their intentions are often the opposite. Why is this discussion so important? Because subtle behaviors, the ones we barely notice in ourselves, can have a huge impact on how others perceive us and how we perceive ourselves. These habits aren't just about how you interact with others. They can directly affect your happiness, self-esteem, and emotional well-being. But here's the good news. With small, intentional changes, you can rebuild and strengthen your connections with the people who matter most in your life. If you're ready to uncover these habits and learn how to turn them into opportunities for growth, connection, and joy, then stay with me. By the end of this video, you'll have the tools to recognize and address these behaviors, mend strained bonds, and rediscover a sense of purpose and contentment. And if you're new here, make sure to join our growing community by subscribing to our channel, After 7080, where we share valuable insights to help you live a fuller, more connected life. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment the number 2 below to show your love. If you think we can do better, drop a heart and comment the number 7 so we can improve in the next video. Thank you for being here. Now, let's dive in and uncover these 6 habits, starting with one that might surprise you. 1. Neglecting personal care. Let's start with a topic that might feel a little uncomfortable to address, but is incredibly important: personal hygiene. Picture this. Robert, a 74-year-old retired engineer from Denver, was once known for his sharp appearance. He always dressed neatly, his hair combed just right, and his handshake firm. But over the years, things started to change. Chronic back pain and fatigue made daily grooming feel like a monumental task. After his wife passed away, loneliness crept in, and Robert began to think, who's even paying attention anymore? Slowly, he started skipping showers, wearing the same clothes for days, and avoiding trips to the dentist. He didn't realize how much this was affecting his relationships. His daughter, Emily, who used to visit every weekend, started coming less often. She loved her dad but found it hard to ignore the signs of neglect. This is more common than you might think. Many older adults face physical challenges like arthritis or mobility issues that make self-care harder. Others, like Robert, struggle with emotional barriers such as grief or depression, which sap their motivation. And then there's the belief that appearances don't matter as much anymore. But here's the thing. Personal hygiene is about so much more than just looking good. It's about maintaining dignity, health, and connection. Neglecting hygiene can lead to unpleasant odors or visible signs of neglect, which might unintentionally push loved ones away. Worse, it can lead to health issues like skin infections or dental problems that further diminish quality of life. So, what's the solution? Small, manageable changes can make a big difference. For Robert, it started with creating a simple daily routine. His grandson, Jake, helped him write it down and stick it to the bathroom mirror. They even made it fun by shopping together for easy-to-use grooming tools, like a long-handled brush for showering and no-rinse cleansing wipes. Robert also began scheduling weekly grooming days with Emily, turning what used to feel like a chore into a chance to bond with his family. These small steps helped Robert regain his confidence and brought his family closer together. Now, let me ask you, have you ever noticed how small changes in your daily habits can impact the way others see you and how you feel about yourself? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've ever helped a loved one with their self-care, let us know what worked for you. Your story might inspire someone else. Stay tuned, because the next habit we'll discuss is one that might hit closer to home than you think. 2. Complaining too much. Let's talk about something that might feel a little too familiar: complaining. Meet Margaret, a 73-year-old retired librarian from Boston. Margaret has always been opinionated, and her family used to love her sharp wit and thoughtful insights. But over time, her occasional gripes turned into a steady stream of negativity. At family gatherings, she'd complain about everything, from the weather to politics to how nobody writes letters anymore. Her grandson, Ben, used to laugh it off, saying, "That's just grandma being grandma." But as the months went by, her constant complaints started to wear thin. Her daughter-in-law, Julie, began retreating to the kitchen during visits, and her son, James, started shortening phone calls. What used to be lively family dinners now felt heavy and tense. Why does this happen? For many older adults, complaining can stem from deeper feelings of frustration, loneliness, or even a sense of losing control in a rapidly changing world. Margaret, for example, felt like her voice didn't carry the same weight it once did, and complaining became her way of asserting herself. But here's the problem: constant negativity doesn't just strain relationships, it also reinforces feelings of dissatisfaction and unhappiness. Studies show that habitual complaining can increase stress and make it harder to focus on the positives in life. So, how can we break this cycle? Margaret's turning point came when Ben, in his usual candid way, said, "Grandma, I love you, but it's hard to hang out when you're always upset about something." At first, she was hurt, but after some reflection, she realized he had a point. Margaret decided to try something new: gratitude journaling. Every evening, she wrote down 3 things she was thankful for, like the beautiful flowers in her garden or the fact that Ben still visited her. Over time, this simple practice shifted her perspective. She also made a conscious effort to ask her family more questions about their lives instead of diving straight into complaints. The result? Her relationships began to feel lighter and more joyful, and her family started looking forward to spending time with her again. Now, let me ask you, have you ever noticed how focusing on the negatives can affect your mood and the people around you? What's one thing you're grateful for today? Share it in the comments below, and let's spread some positivity together. And don't go anywhere, because the next habit we'll explore is one that might be happening without you even realizing it. Stay tuned. 3. Dominating the conversation. Let's move on to something that might feel a little too close to home: dominating the conversation. Picture this: Frank, a 76-year-old retired history professor from Chicago, has lived an extraordinary life. He's traveled the world, taught at prestigious universities, and met some of the brightest minds of his generation. Naturally, he loves sharing his stories. At family gatherings, Frank often takes center stage, recounting his adventures in vivid detail. But here's the problem: his enthusiasm sometimes leaves little room for others to speak. Take last Sunday's lunch at his daughter Laura's house. When her teenage son, Alex, excitedly started talking about a school project, Frank immediately jumped in with, "That reminds me of the time I gave a lecture in Paris." What followed was a 15-minute monologue. By the time Frank finished, Alex had given up on sharing, and the energy at the table had noticeably dimmed. Why does this happen? For many older adults like Frank, sharing stories is a way to stay relevant and connect with loved ones. It's not done out of malice, quite the opposite. Frank genuinely believed he was enriching the conversation. But what he didn't realize was that his tendency to dominate left others feeling unheard and undervalued. Younger family members, like Alex, began disengaging, seeing conversations as less of a dialogue and more of a lecture. So, how can we strike a balance? Frank's turning point came when Laura gently approached him after lunch and said, "Dad, we love your stories, but sometimes Alex and the others feel like they don't get a chance to share their thoughts." At first, Frank was defensive. "I'm just trying to connect," he said. But after reflecting, he realized she had a point. The next time the family gathered, Frank decided to try something new. Active listening. When Alex started talking about his project, Frank resisted the urge to jump in with his own story. Instead, he asked, "What's the most exciting part of the project for you? And what do you hope to learn from it?" Alex lit up, and the conversation flowed naturally. Later, when Alex had finished, Frank shared a related story, and this time, it was met with genuine interest and enthusiasm. Effective communication is a two-way street. It's about balancing the wisdom of age with the curiosity to learn from others. For Frank, this shift wasn't easy, but it was worth it. He found that by listening more, he felt more connected to his family, and his stories were better received when shared at the right moments. Now, let me ask you, have you ever noticed how much more meaningful conversations become when everyone gets a chance to speak? What's one way you've practiced being a better listener? Share your tips in the comments below. And don't go anywhere, because the next habit we'll discuss is one that might be creating more tension in your relationships than you realize. Stay tuned. 4. Demanding respect based on age. Let's talk about a habit that can quietly create tension in relationships: demanding respect simply because of age. Meet Evelyn, a 75-year-old retired nurse from Atlanta. Evelyn grew up in a time when age was synonymous with authority. In her day, younger generations were expected to defer to their elders without question. For years, this belief served her well, earning her admiration and respect from her children and colleagues. But as times changed, Evelyn found herself increasingly frustrated. Her teenage granddaughter, Chloe, grew up in a world where respect is often earned through mutual understanding and kindness. At a recent family barbecue, Evelyn shared her opinion on career choices, only for Chloe to politely disagree. Feeling dismissed, Evelyn snapped, "Back in my day, young people respected their elders without questioning them. You need to learn to listen." Chloe, feeling unheard, rolled her eyes and walked away, leaving Evelyn hurt and confused. Why does this happen? For many older adults like Evelyn, the belief that respect your elders is an unshakable rule is deeply ingrained. It's tied to their upbringing and life experiences. But for younger generations, respect is increasingly seen as a two-way street, something built on mutual understanding, empathy, and actions rather than age alone. Evelyn's insistence on unquestioned respect wasn't about arrogance. It was about wanting to feel valued in a world that seemed to be moving too fast. But the impact of this approach was clear. It created a divide between her and Chloe, leaving both feeling misunderstood. So, how can we bridge this gap? Evelyn's turning point came when her son, Mark, gently sat down with her after the barbecue and said, "Mom, Chloe loves you, but she feels like you don't respect her opinions. If you listen to her more, I think she'd be more willing to listen to you." At first, Evelyn was skeptical. "I'm just trying to guide her," she said, but she decided to give it a try. At their next family dinner, when Chloe brought up her plans to pursue a career in graphic design, something Evelyn had previously dismissed as impractical, Evelyn resisted the urge to critique. Instead, she asked, "What excites you about that field? And how do you see yourself growing in that career?" Chloe's reaction surprised Evelyn. She opened up about her aspirations, and the conversation felt more meaningful than any they'd had in months. Respect isn't about demanding it, it's about earning it through actions, empathy, and genuine interest in others' lives. Evelyn found that by showing respect to Chloe, she received it in return, creating a stronger and more fulfilling bond. This small shift in perspective not only improved their relationship, but also reminded Evelyn of the joy that comes from truly connecting with her family. Now, let me ask you, have you ever found yourself expecting respect without realizing it might need to be mutual? What's one way you've shown respect to someone younger that helped strengthen your relationship? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't go anywhere, because the next habit we'll explore is one that might be unintentionally pushing your loved ones away. Stay tuned. 5. Minimizing others' experiences. Let's dive into a habit that often goes unnoticed but can deeply affect relationships: minimizing the experiences of others. Take Robert, a 72-year-old retired contractor from Dallas. Robert has lived through tough times. He's weathered economic downturns, raised 3 kids, and even survived a major health scare in his 60s. So, when his granddaughter Emily, a 20-year-old college sophomore, recently vented about the stress of juggling her studies, part-time job, and social life, Robert's immediate response was, "That's nothing. When I was your age, I worked full-time, went to school at night, and still had to take care of my younger siblings. You've got it easy." Robert thought he was offering perspective, but Emily felt dismissed and undervalued. Instead of feeling supported, she felt like her struggles weren't legitimate. Over time, she stopped sharing her feelings with him altogether. Why does this happen? For many older adults like Robert, it's not about intentionally belittling others. It's about perspective. After a lifetime of challenges, the problems faced by younger generations can sometimes seem trivial in comparison. But here's the truth. Every stage of life comes with its own unique hurdles. What might seem small to one person can feel monumental to another. Emily's stress about balancing her responsibilities is as real to her as Robert's struggles were to him decades ago. By comparing her challenges to his, Robert unintentionally created a barrier instead of a bridge. So, how can we avoid this? Robert's turning point came when Emily stopped calling as often, and he noticed she no longer opened up about her life. Concerned, he reached out to his daughter, Lisa, who gently explained, "Dad, Emily feels like you don't take her seriously. She looks up to you, but when you compare her struggles to yours, it makes her feel small." Determined to repair their bond, Robert made an effort to change his approach. The next time Emily mentioned feeling overwhelmed, Robert resisted the urge to compare her situation to his past. Instead, he said, "That sounds like a lot to handle. How are you managing it all?" Emily's response was immediate. She opened up about her challenges, and their conversation felt more meaningful than it had in months. The lesson here is simple but powerful. Validating others' experiences fosters understanding and emotional connection. By acknowledging and respecting the feelings of younger generations, older adults can create an environment of trust and support. Robert realized that his role wasn't to compare struggles, but to listen, empathize, and offer encouragement. Now, let me ask you, have you ever caught yourself comparing someone's challenges to your own? How did it affect the conversation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't go anywhere, because the final habit we'll discuss is one that might be more common than you think. Stay tuned. 6. Criticizing young people. Finally, let's talk about a habit that can create a generational divide: criticizing young people. Meet Linda, a 74-year-old retired small business owner from Portland. Linda loves her grandson Ethan, but she can't help but feel frustrated every time she sees him glued to his smartphone during family dinners. One evening, she couldn't hold back any longer. "Ethan," she said sharply, "when I was your age, we didn't waste time on gadgets. We talked to each other and worked hard. You're all too distracted by your devices to appreciate what matters." Ethan, feeling judged and misunderstood, responded with a defensive shrug. "Grandma, I was texting about a school project." The atmosphere at the table turned tense, and Ethan spent the rest of the meal silently scrolling through his phone, not because he was uninterested in his family, but because he no longer felt comfortable engaging. Why does this happen? For many older adults like Linda, criticism often comes from a place of love and concern. Linda remembered her struggles growing up in a time of limited resources and opportunities. Her comments were her way of trying to instill those same values in Ethan. But what she didn't realize was that her approach came across as dismissive rather than helpful. Frequent or excessive criticism can make younger generations feel judged, creating distance instead of connection. So, how can we approach this differently? Linda's turning point came when her daughter, Sarah, gently pointed out the impact of her words. "Mom, I know you mean well, but Ethan feels like you're always criticizing him. He thinks you don't see the good in what he's doing. Maybe instead of focusing on what you don't like, you could ask him about why he uses his phone so much or what he's working on." At their next family dinner, Linda took Sarah's advice. When Ethan pulled out his phone, Linda resisted the urge to comment. Instead, she asked, "What's the coolest thing you've learned recently from your phone or online?" Ethan's face lit up as he shared a fascinating story about a new app he was using to learn coding. The conversation that followed was lively, and for the first time in a while, Linda felt like she'd truly connected with her grandson. The lesson here is clear. Building strong relationships with younger generations requires patience, understanding, and a willingness to meet them where they are. Offering advice only when sought and framing it with empathy can make all the difference. Linda learned that by shifting her approach from criticism to curiosity, she could bridge the generational divide and foster a relationship built on mutual respect and appreciation. Now, let me ask you, have you ever found yourself criticizing younger generations without realizing it? What's one way you've tried to connect with them instead? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And as we wrap up, remember that small changes in how we communicate can lead to deeper, more meaningful relationships with the people we love most. Thank you for being part of this journey. Conclusion. As we come to the end of this journey, let's take a moment to reflect. Aging is a beautiful part of life, but it also comes with challenges, especially when it comes to maintaining meaningful relationships. The 6 habits we've explored today: neglecting personal care, complaining too much, dominating conversations, demanding respect based on age, minimizing others' experiences, and criticizing young people, are all behaviors that can unintentionally create distance between us and the people we care about most. But here's the good news: with small, intentional changes, these habits can be transformed into opportunities for growth, connection, and joy. Imagine what your relationships could look like if you started listening more, showing curiosity instead of judgment, and validating the experiences of those around you. Picture the laughter at family dinners, the heartfelt conversations with your grandchildren, and the renewed sense of purpose that comes from feeling truly connected to the people you love. These changes don't require grand gestures, just a willingness to reflect, adjust, and approach your relationships with empathy and understanding. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these habits resonated with you the most? Is there one you're ready to work on? Or perhaps a story you'd like to share about how you've strengthened your relationships? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your insights might inspire someone else to make a positive change in their life. And before you go, if you found value in this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. After 7080, by subscribing, you'll never miss another video filled with insights and tips to help you navigate life's challenges and build deeper, more fulfilling relationships. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you in the next video.